This is Optimal Work Daily. 10 Ways I Deal with My Own Procrastination, Part 1 by James Altucher of jamesaltucher.com. It's important I address several things first before I really start into the meat of this article. First, when I tweet about this post, many people will respond, "I'll read it later," or some variation of that. That's a funny joke. I get it. Second, while I was writing this post, I procrastinated pretty heavily. No surprise. And what was even better, I employed almost all of these techniques to get over the procrastination and still be very productive. In fact, one of the techniques I mention is to start in the middle. It's worth mentioning then that the words I am writing now, I am writing after already finishing the article. So here are the 10 things you should do to make your life more productive via procrastination. Plan B. Make a list right now of 10 things you can do that will make you feel productive. If you ever feel like you are procrastinating, then just go down the list and do the tiniest thing you can do for each item on the list. For instance, if I'm procrastinating writing on a book, I can take a break and start sending emails to potential podcast guests. I procrastinated on writing this post, so I even responded to emails from 6 months ago that I procrastinated on responding to then. Do you know what? The respondents appreciated it, and I kept those business connections alive. I also read parts of a book to prepare for a podcast next week. Or it doesn't even have to be something related to business productivity. I can exercise, for instance. That will probably improve my ability to focus better in the long run. Play. If you feel procrastination is becoming a habit, then take a step back and change your life. Whenever I've been deeply unhappy in my life, I play games. I play games all day. Games are actually good for you in general. They make you strive to improve. They improve various brain functions like spatial reasoning, problem solving, etc. They improve your ability to deal with failure, since often you will lose, and learn from your mistakes if you study what you did wrong in lost games. But games can also be escapist. When I've been unhappy in relationships or in a job, I play games all day long. I was afraid to get married in my first marriage. I was scared I was too young. 20 minutes before I was supposed to be at my own wedding, I was at my office and hadn't changed yet. I was playing 1-minute chess, where each side takes 1 minute, and if one player runs out of time before the game is over, then he loses. I was playing against the Swiss chess champion. I was winning. I figured, I can't stop doing this, I'm winning. That was bad. Escapist gaming is no good. One technique I do now to take a step back is no drinking, go to sleep around 9 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. and get out of the house to read or write or walk. Try to do productive gaming instead of escapist gaming. As long as I focus on improvement, it will make me better able to focus on the task at hand. Or I try to play in some way. I recommend Charlie Hohn's book on play to see how he used it to decrease his anxiety and become more productive. Experiment. The word of the month for me seems to be experiment. Everywhere I look, I seem to be reminded of the importance of this. A great example is Chris Rock. He's a funny guy. He goes on stage, does his act, and everyone laughs, again and again. But that's not how he starts. He goes to the Laugh Factory in my hometown of New Brunswick, New Jersey, and takes some crumpled notes and just starts reading them out loud in his regular voice. If people start to laugh at a joke, he knows he has something that can be developed. If people don't laugh, he throws that joke away. He experiments with thousands of jokes before he has an hour of material that a year later he can use on an HBO special. If I'm working on a project that is stagnating and I don't feel like working on it, I try to back up one step and try a different direction. Experiment to see if this excites me more. When I first started a company, we weren't sure the best way to make a lot of money, so we experimented. We made software to see who would buy it, which was nobody. We started a record label. We almost signed one act, and then they disappeared. We thought about starting a database for people in the entertainment industry. Then IMDb came along. We thought about making an automatic website developer, but it was a lot of work. Think WordPress. We even thought about making a tea company, but we knew nothing about distribution. But it wasn't bad to experiment. Learning about each of these businesses gave me useful information. For instance, 10 years later, the lessons learned from how to start a tea company were useful in making a fund of hedge funds. You send out your tea or money to distributors or other funds, and once a month you collect information from everyone and compile the data. Similar risks occur in each business. The ways we explored making money on the internet in 1996 helped in 2009 to figure out what were the best things to invest in with the sharp rise of social media. And even experimenting with a record label enabled us to land the job of doing the websites for many record labels: Loud, Bad Boy, Interscope, Jive, etc. When I am less productive with writing now, I try to figure out how to experiment with the form a bit more, or be creative in some other way. Then I consider it a good day. While I was procrastinating on this article, I wrote both the first and second draft on a children's book, an experiment I have never done before. Smaller is better. When I am procrastinating on a book, I take a step back and stop thinking about the whole book. I just try to outline what I want to accomplish with the exact page I'm working on. The process is: 1. Find a smaller task within the bigger task. 2. Outline it. 3. Set a mini deadline for doing it. 4. Drink coffee. And 5. Do. For instance, I procrastinated for a few days on this very post, and then I procrastinated this morning on it. First, I did my Plan B as described earlier. I responded to some emails. I sent some thank you emails. I commented on posts in various Facebook groups I'm a member of, including the Choose Yourself group. Then I got into this post and I felt a bit overwhelmed. Do I really have 10 things? Finally, I said do one thing, so I thought a little harder on all the times I've procrastinated, since the only good advice is always autobiography. And I remembered that I always break down big tasks into smaller ones and wrote this part: smaller is better. Bam! Anxiety. Nothing to say here. It's just important to remember, anxiety will never solve tomorrow's problems and will only steal away energy from today. To be continued. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled 10 Ways I Deal with My Own Procrastination by James Altucher of jamesaltucher.com. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We're all marveled at how quickly kids learn and that sense of wonderment they have while doing it. But as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. Well, if there's something you've been wanting to learn, know that therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder, because your back-to-school era can come at any age. And make no mistake, therapy is for everyone. Whether or not you've been through significant trauma, therapy can be a great tool for setting boundaries, learning new skills, and ultimately becoming the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/workdaily today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/workdaily. When it comes to hiring, don't go searching for the one. Just meet your match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging. 93% of employers agree. Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. And one of the things I really love about Indeed is that it filters out those incompatible applicants. So when you're hiring, the process is much faster and you only have to consider applicants that are already likely to be a great fit. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/startup. So just go to Indeed.com/startup right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/startup. Terms and conditions apply. And thank you so much to James for letting us share his content here. James has founded or co-founded over 20 companies and published 20 books. He's also a contributor to the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, and the Huffington Post. And you can hear him interviewing a bunch of talented people on his podcast, The James Altucher Show. And that's going to do it for today. Hope you have a great weekend, and thanks so much for being a subscriber to this show. I will, of course, see you tomorrow where we're going to finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.